Hello again. So for quite a while now, you've probably seen videos of my outdoor radio kits, battery packs, stuff when I go out in the car, doing radio work with handhelds and various accessories. And I've always been out and about trying to build antennas and making do with what I've got, sort of out in the field. And I think it's important to always have basic tools with you, a basic toolkit or an electronics first aid kit if you like. And I've always had this mentality of better to have and not need than to need and not have. And if I'm going out somewhere for the day, doing a field day, I like to have a load of stuff with me, and it gets a little bit too much, it gets a bit too crazy, far too much stuff I take. So I try to, if I can, limit it, kind of cut it down a bit. It's important to have basic tools with you, and in the past I've gone out with massive tool bags, tool boxes, tool cases, full of things that ultimately you don't really need. Often you just need, like a first aid kit, just enough just to give a bit of a tweak, a bit of a repair to something, and that's as much as you need. So using an old pack, I decided a while ago I was going to build one, and I did. And gradually it's got bigger and bigger to the point where it's a bit confused. This is no longer like a first aid bag for tools and stuff. It's now more of a tool bag, and it's so easy to get carried away. So what I wanted to do is to show you what I got in this kit, just as an example. Now, obviously, everyone's got different needs. You know, you've all got your own requirements of what you want. This is geared for what I do and for what I want to carry with me when I'm doing a field day. It's not, you know, this isn't me showing you what you must carry. This is just what I have. So let's have a look at it and you'll see what I mean. So we open it up, and this is what we've got. We've basically got what started off to be basic tools. Okay, needle nose pliers, ordinary pliers, good set of cutters, albeit them small, but that's all you need. An adjustable spanner. These are always very useful to have. Little craft knives, very useful for cutting tape or stripping bits of wire down. Obviously got wire cutters for that purpose, but it's always a great little added extra. And then I once was working and fitting some 12-volt sockets and plugs, and I had this little tiny wiring loom kind of left over. So I thought, you know what, rather than throw it, just keep it. It's just great to keep in the bag. So I did. Come across an old screwdriver. Decided to put that into the kit as well. So as you can see, it starts to get bigger and bigger, doesn't it? Something very useful that I use a lot for various things are these little strips of plastic. Now these are for hot glue guns. Now I do have a couple of battery operated glue guns, but I don't want to carry them around in this first aid kit. So I just keep a couple of those handy with a lighter, and very cleverly you can just melt it with a lighter and use it to, you know, do a quick repair or something that could do with it. So I tend to keep those with me as well. A soldering iron. So this soldering iron, it's a USB rechargeable soldering iron. The solder iron itself is here. So little tube of solder and the soldering iron nib, screws in, and then you just power it up, and within a few seconds it gets to the desired temperature. It's very good. It's like a touch sensitive one, so to save your battery you just touch the little pad on the side, then that comes on and it lights up. I don't know the temperature. It does get to a good enough temperature though to be able to solder the average wire. A PL259 you could solder it with, and it does the job, but you probably wouldn't want to solder anything sort of much more than that. I don't think it'd get to the temperature. But again, this is one of those things that's just really useful to carry, just to do a simple repair. So I ended up by carrying that with me with everything else. And again, I've used it a couple of times. and it's been a godsend, and I've been really grateful that I've had it. So that's the soldering iron. This here is a interchangeable screwdriver set. Again, very useful. It comes with 3 strips of various different screwdriver sizes and hexadecimal and Allen key sizes. Again, just a great thing to have. Again, you could ask, well, is that really necessary, you know, for a first aid kit? Is that necessary for emergency repair? Generally, I don't think it is, but I had the space, so why not? I've got about 2 meters of tape. It's like gaffer tape. Just roll it up there. Very strong, very versatile. Folds up to virtually nothing, so that fits in just well. Terminal screwdriver, again for simple repairs. You never know when you might need one. Although, redundancy, it's another one there. So do I really need that second one? A glow stick. I have no idea why I've got a glow stick in here. No idea at all. But, you know, I think at some point I found it in my workshop and when I was putting this together, and I thought, you know what, why not? A pencil. Some little clips. These are very useful if you're making antennas. But again, if you're making antennas, then I'll be using a tool bag or proper toolkit. So do I really need to keep them in here? So you can see how it's gradually getting bigger. Tape measure. I thought that'd be useful because, you know, if you want to make yourself an antenna out of wire and you're on the field, you know, you want to try and get the measurements as right best as you can. So redundancy is a spare one. Yeah, stick it in, why not? Something that is important is this multimeter. Now this is a fairly new one. I've only used this a couple of times. It's only a cheap one, but ultimately, as long as you can test voltage and continuity, then that's all you need to do. So I was happy to include this into the kit. Battery's dead. Right, that's a useful opportunity then to replace the battery. So yeah, that needs looking at before I put it away again. And then bits of paracord, because, you know, you might need to tie something down. So yeah, I suppose that's kind of justified. Installation tape, definitely. It's a definite must for a kit like this. I always keep tapes in these little plastic bags because it just stops all the dust and the grime sticking to the outside. And in the hot weather, that can sometimes leave a sticky residue on the other items. So I tend to keep it in the bag. So that's a definite must. Paracord, yeah, we'll knock the camera over. That's a definite must as well. Tape measure, I don't know. I don't think that needs to be in there, does it? The tape certainly does need to be. So that's staying. Okay, so let's move on to the other side then. So inside here, so let's just move these aside. So soldering iron, solder tip, rechargeable. So obviously it makes sense to carry a USB battery pack. So this USB battery pack will easily charge up this a couple of times, and it's useful. So supposing I might want to charge my phone as well. So in here somewhere, I keep some spare USB leads. So I can actually charge up an iPhone, Samsung phones, Android, and anything really that requires USB. I can pretty much charge with that. So that's that. So joining wires together. Now, yeah, I've got the soldering iron. That will do a great job. But sometimes it's easier just to use these little tubes, heat shrink tubes. You fasten this around your wires. You make your wires up, you fasten this around it. You heat it up with a lighter or a hot air gun or whatever. And that thing in the centre there is it's just solder. And as you melt this, heat this up, that melts down, joins over your wires, and it heat shrinks over. So these are really good. So I thought, well, let's get some of those in, because just for doing a simple repair, if I didn't want to solder it using soldering iron, that'd be ideal. So that's in there as well. Spare plugs, PL259s. Now, do I really need those in there? Because again, this is a first aid kit. It's not a tool kit, but it's just found its way in. This has got a little SME plug onto standard PL259 for your antennas. So really useful for some of the Baofengs or handheld radios. Again, probably doesn't really deserve to be in a first aid kit, but it found its way in. Spare 30 amp fuse. Useful. You never know when you might want one. So it found its way in. And then crocodile clips. I don't think this really should be in. This is ideal for, what's this ideal for? Not really anything that I'll be doing, I suppose, on the field. But I had the space, so I put them in. Definitely. I've got about 3 or 4 different sizes of cable tie grips, plastic tie grips. Very useful. They will definitely be staying in. What else have we got? Oh, okay, yeah. So if you want to make up a power lead or you're joining wires together, if you don't want to do a permanent job with soldering, then these are great. You just pull these little levers back, stick your stripped cables into there, and then lock those in, and it grips your wires. So you've got connections there for 3 wires, and this one will do 4. They're very useful for temporary jobs where you don't want to solder. So yeah, I suppose they could stay in there. What else? Multi-plug. Now, I've got quite a few of these. I've had these for absolute years, and I can't remember where they were from. But basically, you've got bare end one side, and on the other, just a variety of different size plugs and jags. So that's quite useful. Again, not really for a first aid kit. That's more of a stick it in your tool bag kit. Fuses. Yeah, making no apologies for these. I've got various different sizes of glass fuses and automotive fuses. The only problem with that is that I had a box with all of these glass fuses in, and I didn't want to carry the whole box, so I took a selection. But now, with my eyesight not as good as it was, to actually see the ampage written on these fuses is getting more increasingly difficult. So probably not a good idea. I should have kept them sorted. But anyway, in the bag, always useful to have. Crocodile clips. Yeah, okay, could be useful. Yeah, okay, keep those in. Yeah. So this probably shouldn't be in, but it's from an old solar panel. It's 12 volt input, and it gives you 2 USB outputs. It doesn't take any space. Don't see why not. So it goes in, and before you know it, you know, you're building it all up into something massive. So that's it. That's all I've got in there. It's a lot for a first aid kit, and I think I do need to readdress this. Do I want a first aid kit for my electronics, or do I want a tool bag? Can you see the confusion? Can you see the problems I have here? What do you do? So let me know what you would do. It's more than a first aid. It's got a bit out of control, a bit out of hand. So maybe I should address what goes in it. But for the time being, I'm going to put most of these things back in and keep it going. Doing your field days, it's imperative to have enough of what you need for any eventuality, especially if you're making HF antennas and having to join wires and you know, needing bits of string. These little clips here, these are very useful for making your own aerials up. Little multi-tool type crowbar, bottle opener, screwdriver thingy-majig, and a little light might be useful. So I'm going to get all this stuff put back into place. I hope this is of some interest. As you can see, it's a confused kit, so I don't know what to call it. Let me know what you would do. Give me some ideas, suggestions of how you would plan this out, whether you have a kit like this or just keep everything in a tool bag. Just trying to keep things light and convenient to carry, and a big tool bag I just didn't want. I just wanted some basic stuff. But you know what, when you've got all these pockets, you just end up by filling them, so it easily gets out of control. Right, okay, that's me done. I'm going to get all this put back together now, and get ready for my next Radio Day field trip. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later on.